Okay. Hi, everybody. It's Sarah. Um, been doing good so far. It's my dad's birthday today, so we're going to Albuquerque since he's working up there for a while. So we're gonna go do that to celebrate today, this weekend. And other than that, classes have been going fine and real easy. So that's good for me. Um, with today's discussion today, a lot of things that I noticed, I'll be talking about the paintings and the poetry and then the music. Um, Romantic paintings are still in that era where it's more about the realism. So it's realistic bodies, realistic nature, things like that. And of course, there's going to be some like, oh, here's the piece of the time, like, here's our political piece, here's our everyday life kind of piece. But since it's still in the 19th century, we're slowly at the end of that, we're going to be seeing the transition from romanticism to modernism. So we're also seeing the earliest signs of modernistic paintings. So there's a little bit, there's still like landscape and people pieces in there, but they're not realistic. They're heavier brushstrokes, more noticeable brushstrokes. It's not as soft anymore compared to modernistic paintings, which are absolutely, we're in the abstract and surrealism now. So it's things like Picasso, and there's different like the backgrounds aren't accurate. They're either incredibly saturated or way too bright and colorful, or they're not perfect. They're angled weird. People's bodies aren't proportioned right. They're definitely not natural. And so that's the kind of painting era that we transition into. For poetry, at least the examples that we have, it's a little bit more difficult since poetry usually is going to be rather consistent in ways other than the different forms that there are. So it's more about the topics that we go in that are discussed in those. So romantic topics are either going to be about the like some of the examples that we see for that our professor gave us. They're either about royalty, and both of them that I do notice is that they're both still bitter and depressing. They're talking about, how would I describe it? They're just sad. And it's like when the words that they describe them just make you feel down in a way. At least that's what I got the impression of. So it's different from modern poetry in a little bit, as it's mainly the topics that they talk about. So we transition from, oh, here's like our daily life and like these wealthy neighborhoods and talking about our royalty, to, oh, here we're going to talk about like slavery in this one, and the transition from that. So that's pretty much what the poetry is. Music, romantic music is a lot of slower ballroom like pieces. When you say romantic, you think of romance, right? And so that's what a lot of those pieces sound like. It's background music at these parties, they're dance music for like waltzes. That's what a lot of the romantic era music sounded like, compared to modernistic music, which is it's a very experimental. And so it won't be traditional. There's a lot of more moving parts, fast moving parts, parts that make you question, like, oh, why did they choose it to be like this? It's experimental. So I think that's the biggest difference of those. Um, in terms of what I prefer, for paintings at least, I definitely like the more modernistic paintings. I'm an abstract artist. My minor is in painting, so I do a lot of geometrical abstractions. Poetry, I'm not the biggest poetry reader. I'm a creative writing major, but my focus isn't on poetry. It's more on fiction, so I'll read a lot more fiction pieces. So for poetry, I really don't have a preference. If anything, I'm probably just not going to read either of them at all. And for music, I do enjoy both of them, but I think I lean a little bit more towards the romanticism side of it, but I still appreciate the modernistic experimentation that we have going on. So that's it for me, guys. I hope you guys are doing good, and I'll see you in the next discussion. Bye bye.